Welcome back to another explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we are exploring the gritty, incredibly high-stakes world of Leigh Bardugo's Six of Crows. We're going to break down its unique magic system, the brutal masterminds running the streets, and, of course, the fog-drenched underworld of Cutterdam. Honestly, if you've ever wondered how to perfectly blend a dark fantasy with a gripping, edge-of-your-seat crime thriller, well, this is exactly where you need to look.
I mean, just take a look at this stunning cover art. You've got this dark, imposing crow, and its wings just seemingly dissolve right into a shadowy, foreboding cityscape. This visual perfectly sets the tone for a story that is an epic, magical fantasy, but one that feels distinctly and unapologetically grown up. It's a world where, survival isn't about being some prophesied chosen one. No, it's about being the smartest, absolutely most dangerous person in a room full of killers. It's a vibe perfectly summarized by Publishers Weekly. They called it a cunning leader with a plan for every occasion, nigh impossible odds, an entertaining, combative team of skilled misfits, a twisty plot. I mean, it is a nerve-wracking thrill ride, literally from beginning to end. But what makes it so good? Like, why are the stakes so incredibly high? Well, to understand exactly why this dark, twisty masterpiece is so captivating, we first need to look at the fundamental laws of this universe and what actually happens when those laws are suddenly, violently broken. We're plunged straight into the inciting incident right in Chapter 1, when we meet a young woman named Anya. Now, in this world, magic wielders are called Grisha, and they practice what's known as the small science. Anya is a corporalinic, specifically classified as a healer. Now, what a healer normally does is use their hands to physically manipulate the human body. They literally knit skin, blood, and bone back together to cure injuries. But here's the catch. They must physically touch you, and their power is strictly limited to healing flesh. It's a highly grounded, almost biological magic system. That is, until a wealthy merchant locks Anya in a steel cell and decides to test a brand new substance on her. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how quickly everything we thought we knew about this magic system is just completely turned upside down. The merchant forces Anya to swallow this sweet powder called Param, and instantly, the established rules break down into these terrifying anomalies. First, she heals a young boy's cut without even laying a finger on him. The blood simply vanishes from a distance. Then, horrifyingly, she looks at a heavily armed guard and simply says, "Shoot the glass." The guard's face goes completely slack. He listens to the command like it's some distant melody, unslings his rifle, and fires. A healer, whose power is supposed to be limited strictly to mending flesh, is suddenly performing effortless, absolute mind control. Param creates an impossible, world-altering threat. To truly grasp the scale of this threat, though, we need to zoom out geographically and really ground ourselves in this world. So here's the map of the True Sea, and right down here is the island nation of Kerch. Kerch is the beating heart of international trade, and its capital city is Cutterdam. Now, Cutterdam is dark, it's damp, and it is hyper-wealthy. It's a place where merchants basically rule the government, and profit is literally the only true religion. And it's right here, hidden among the polished, coffered ceilings of Cutterdam's elite, that this incredibly dangerous, reality-breaking drug is currently being tested on captive Grisha. Let's move to and see how this builds, because to understand the sheer magnitude of this, you really have to look at the baseline magic system of the Grisha. You have the corporal key, who deal with the body, the ethereal key, who summon elements like wind and fire, and the material key, who manipulates solid materials like metal and glass. Every single order operates within strict scientific boundaries. So, when a corporal healer suddenly starts hijacking human minds with a simple verbal command, that means the very laws of nature have been shattered. Whoever controls this drug, Param, essentially controls the world's most terrifying army. And in a city as greedy as Cutterdam, an asset like that is absolutely bound to attract the worst kind of attention. Section 1. The Criminal Underworld. Welcome to the Barrel. So, far away from those wealthy, polished merchant mansions is the Barrel. And here, survival of the fittest is the only law. It's a gritty, cutthroat pleasure district where weakness is basically an open invitation to a quick death. And it's right within these shadows that we meet Inej. She's a silent, gravity-defying spy known on the streets as the Wraith. She can scale sheer brick walls with these rubber-soled slippers, and she carries a collection of deadly knives that she considers her only true companions. Through Inej's incredibly perceptive eyes, we get introduced to her boss, the mastermind running a gang called the Dregs. His name is Cosbrecker.
He's this ruthless teenager who dresses in severe, tailored clothes like a wealthy merchant, walks with a crow's head cane, and treats the entire city like his personal violent chessboard.
And this brilliantly illustrates the central dynamic of Kaz's rise to power. On one side, you have the assumption of older rival gang leaders like Giles, who literally tells Kaz to his face, "Kids like you are fleas." They look at a 17-year-old with a bad leg and they just see an easy target, a minor annoyance. But on the other side, you have the terrifying street reality. The streets whisper that Kaz Brecker didn't need a reason. They call him Dirty Hands because he will take any job, break any rule, and betray absolutely anyone to get what he wants. He relies on his rivals, severely underestimating him until it's way, way too late.
Section 2. The Parlay at the Exchange. A deadly game of chess. We actually see this deadly game of chess play out perfectly during a midnight parlay at the Exchange. By day, the Exchange is the bustling financial heart of Ketterdam, but tonight it is entirely deserted. It's supposed to be neutral territory where rival gangs, the Dregs and the Blacktips, can negotiate a turf war under the strict rule that everyone arrives unarmed. But as Inej silently watches from the rooftops above, she immediately recognizes this eerie hush in the air. It feels exactly like the woods right before a snare yanks tight. Let's methodically break down the absolutely impossible odds the rival leader, Giles, has stacked against Kaz tonight. First, Giles completely violates street law. He secretly emptied his gang's coffers to bribe 2 city-issue guards on the roof to ignore the parlay and act as his personal snipers. Second, he somehow convinced Kaz's own towering bodyguard, Big Bolliger, to turn traitor. And finally, because Big Bolliger was the one tasked with patting Giles down, Giles was able to easily smuggle a heavy, loaded black pistol right into the center of an unarmed parlay. Giles smiles, ordering his snipers to fire.
Now, I want you to pause right here and really consider this for a second. How does anyone possibly escape this multi-layered trap? You're a 17-year-old kid with a limp, your own men have literally just betrayed you, there are corrupt city snipers on the roof instructed to shoot you on sight, and a rival gang leader is pressing a loaded gun directly against your chest. What is the play here? How do you possibly survive?
So the crucial point is Kaz's absolute mastery of information and timing. Let's look at his real-time counter strategy, moving minute by minute. Minute 1. Instead of cowering, Kaz loudly blackmails the first sniper, Holst, revealing he knows a horrifying stomach-turning secret about him that he will totally expose to his wife and the city if Holst fires. Holst immediately backs down. Minute 2. Inej, anticipating Kaz's needs, as she always does, has already scaled the roof and captures the second sniper at knife point in the shadows. Minute 3. Kaz casually reveals he already figured out his own guard's betrayal days ago, simply by noticing the man changed his breakfast routine to walk near enemy territory. And minute 4, the absolute ultimate power move. Kaz physically steps into the barrel of Giles' loaded gun, looks him dead in the eye, and details exactly how his men are standing outside Giles' innocent girlfriend's apartment right at that very moment, ready to burn it to the ground if Kaz doesn't walk away whole. He neutralizes every single threat with pure calculated psychological terror. It's right here that Kaz delivers a defining quote to a trembling, completely defeated Giles. He says, "I'm the kind of bastard they only manufacture in the barrel." And to prove this absolute ruthlessness, after Giles surrenders and drops the gun, Kaz doesn't just walk away and call it even. Oh no. He swings his heavy cane and shatters Giles' wrist bones anyway, leaving him broken and writhing on the cobblestones. He essentially wins the war without firing a single bullet himself. When Kaz finally limps back across the bridge, victorious, he's greeted by the wild cheers of his gang, the Dregs. But notice what he deliberately does next. He intentionally hides his brilliant methods from his own crew. He flat out refuses to explain how he knew about the traitor or how he managed those snipers. By keeping them totally in the dark, he cultivates the terrifying myth of dirty hands. He cements this potent mixture of deep fear and fierce loyalty among his gang of misfits, proving that in Ketterdam, hoarded information is a far deadlier weapon than any blade or firearm. Which leads us to the ultimate collision course of this entire narrative. On one side, in Chapter 1, we have an impossible, mind-controlling magic drug that is about to completely destabilize the world's power dynamics and turn humans into literal weapons. On the other side, in Chapter 3, we have Kaz Brecker, a teenage criminal genius who thrives on chaos, manipulation, and surviving completely impossible odds. So, what happens when a mind-controlling magic drug hits a city ruled by a mastermind with absolutely nothing to lose?